Dogman hits theaters this weekend, and to be honest, not many animated movies recently have moved me. DreamWorks got me good with The Wild Robot last year and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish the year before, but going into Dogman, honestly I expected dog shit, but I cried 3 separate times. So either I need therapy or this is absolutely cinema. Before I get into more of my thoughts on Dogman, let me know you thought about it in the comments down below. But for starters, on a visual level, this film isn't doing something super unique, but it's still kind of something we've never really seen before. Obviously, the animation meter now gauges from Across to or Into the Spider-Verse level, and then the really shitty Illumination basic 3D animation. I think this is perfectly in the middle of that. For example, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is more on the higher side of that, but Dogman gives us something really different with the textural aspect of it, because this world feels like, at least on an animation level, something that we haven't really seen in children's animated films recently. It's kind of the feeling that The Wild Robot gave to me. I'm not saying it's nearly as gorgeous as The Wild Robot, but The Wild Robot feels similar in style to Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, but it also kind of just feels like a watercolor book, whereas Dogman feels like 3D animation, but something a little bit more physical, like maybe stuffed animals you can play with. And I didn't watch any Dogman trailers going in, but I also knew it's by the same author that made the Captain Underpants movie. DreamWorks also made a movie about that about 7 years ago at this point. So I was worried it was going to be basic 3D animation like that. But again, it blends the new textures that we've been getting in animated movies recently, and in general, the new style of more fast-paced animation with the regular blend of 3D. Again, nothing looks gorgeous or absolutely beautiful, but it is a solid middle ground that I think suffices the animation to the point where you're like, this isn't ugly as shit, you know? And though the animation isn't super basic, I think the story itself is just so baseline. They just kind of are checking the boxes of everything they need to do, because there isn't much for Dogman, like the graphic novel character Dogman, to do. He doesn't have this insane lore other than being a dog and man mix. That's like the coolest thing about this character. But they implement some really interesting thematic ideas, which I'll get into in just a second here. But I think on a basic story level, the characters themselves have to carry a lot of it. Petey, for example, the dog himself, I think the story on a baseline is just good versus evil. It's really nothing more than your average kids movie, but I think it also works. A lot of the film relies on the self-aware humor, which I'll talk more about later, but it's not like a super basic, simple 3-act structure as much as it is just a montage of funny things happening to these characters that kind of climaxes at the end and brings 2 characters that I feel like for the most part you do care about and are slightly invested in on a relationship level, and so it kind of comes together by the end. But on a thematic level is where I find Dogman the most interesting. I don't want to sound stupid, and I know so far I've really only described this film as the most basic kids animated movie you'll ever see, but for some odd reason, Dogman thematically resonated with me way too much. After having seen this film, to me, Dogman is such a great exploration of suppressing emotions, being given purpose by a single thing, and choosing to push on and be good in times where no one believes you can or will succeed. On the other side of that, I think Petey as a character is so genuinely fascinating as, again, just a basic kid's villain, but also as a deeper loneliness complex to him. And they do explore a familial trauma with this character as well that I think just works really well. I enjoyed the exploration of all of these different pieces, and I think to an extent they are coded in this TikTok brain rot humor and montage pacing, but I felt a really weird connection to Dogman as a character that I didn't really expect at all. So I think I'm just so flabbergasted that I'm genuinely thematically relating to a dog-headed man. But that is kind of where my compliments start and end. I will say this film isn't too much of a drag just because it has really, really quick pacing, but also very timely and cringy humor. They make the very simple mistake that a lot of modern comedy movies make, is that in 3 to 4 years, all of the comedy, you'll look back on it and be like, this is so 2025. I complained a couple months ago about how Despicable Me 4 is a literal compilation of Minions short films, and somehow Dogman moves even quicker than that. But I think Dogman has more of a connective story, some thematic idea going on here somewhere. So it is built for the damn TikTok kids, but it still kind of works just enough. At the end of the day, I enjoyed Dogman way more than I thought I would. I wouldn't say it's something generationally unique or brilliant, but this isn't one that'll hurt to take the kids to see on a Saturday morning. Overall, 6 out of 10. Let me know you guys thought of Dogman in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.